Today, a tense exchange on Capitol Hill is raising serious questions about how the United States treats some of the most vulnerable people in immigration custody: pregnant women, new mothers, and infants. What may have sounded like a technical policy debate during the Kristi Noem hearing is, in reality, about life, health, and accountability.
What they do every day and how important it is.
Thank you.
Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you. Secretary Noem, on May 5th, the Customs and Border Patrol, Border Protection, CBP, quietly rescinded, I'm not sure it's even been reported, their, quote, processing of pregnant and postpartum non-citizens and infants, end quote, policy, which was issued on January 28th, 2022, citing it as, quote, obsolete or misaligned with current agency guidance and immigration enforcement policies. That January 28th policy memorandum followed years of inadequate care documented by a report from the Inspector General of the Department of Homeland Security showing that the treatment of pregnant, postpartum, and nursing women and infants was just horrendously and horrifically inadequate. And a recent site visit by Senate Judiciary Committee staff confirmed that this problem is continuing, that pregnant women being detained do not have access to adequate health care. Do you agree or disagree that babies and pregnant women within CBP and ICE custody should receive care that are tailored to their specific needs? And why, in God's name, would that policy be rescinded providing that care?
Well, Senator, I will look at the specifics of that policy and what was changed as of May 5th. I would say that everybody that's incarcerated or is brought into custody and is in a detention center is receiving appropriate care, and that we are making accommodations for individuals that have different physical situations or pregnancy.
It's not happening.
And so I will look at the specific policies as to why one of the requirements may have been changed or adapted. If you have a specific to point out, that would be fantastic.
You don't know about this policy?
I do know about the policy change, but I've looked at the guidelines of how we handle individuals that are pregnancy.
You do know about the policy change. How could you allow it to happen?
Well, sir, what are you finding wrong with what we do with individuals who are pregnant that are in our detention centers? Is there concerns I should be addressing?
Women who are pregnant or who have just had a child and their infant babies are not receiving adequate medical care.
Everybody receives medical care.
Concerned?
Everybody receives medical care that is in our custody, and even if they are going to be returned, even if they're going to be returned back to their home country, we are making sure that they have medical care in their home country before they are sent there. So that is something that we do very diligently, is to make sure that anybody who has a medical issue, a concern, something that needs to be addressed is taken care of in those detention centers.
What you are telling me right now is factually untrue.
No, it's actually
more important, you permitted a policy to be rescinded that provides for adequate care because it was, quote, obsolete or misaligned with your agency's guidance and immigration enforcement priorities. How can you sit here and tell us that caring for pregnant women or infants or women postpartum is misaligned with your priorities?
Yeah, everyone who's in our care and in our detention centers receives medical care that is appropriate to them and their specific condition. Absolutely, that is happening.
You're about to lose a fifth of your workforce in FEMA, correct?
There are individuals in FEMA that are no longer working with us. They may have taken early retirement or deferred retirement.
How are you going to meet the needs of our constituents in Missouri or Connecticut, which suffered floods recently? I saw FEMA in action then, as I've seen them over the years. They are dedicated, vigorous public servants. They appear and spend hours and days and weeks caring for people. You're losing a fifth of them, including most of the leadership. What's your plan to replace
We've got
them?
many people in FEMA that do very good work every day taking care of people that are in a crisis situation, that are experiencing the worst day of their lives. The problem is that over the years and under the Biden administration, they failed the American people.
You're not answering my question, Madam
I absolutely
Secretary.
am.
How are you going to replace a workforce
You can't convince me that any federal government agency does a better job just because it has more people. More people does not equal a better job. Better job is accountability to people and making sure we're taking care of them.
Or anywhere in the country, if you don't have the dedicated public servants in FEMA and you're losing them.
Time has expired. Senator Kim.
Thank you, Chair. Madam Secretary, I saw the proposed budget, and it showed a decrease for FEMA.
Before we go deeper, if you want clear, fact-based breakdowns of major political hearings like this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. During the hearing, Senator Richard Blumenthal confronted Secretary Noem over a little noticed but highly consequential decision made by Customs and Border Protection on May 5th. According to CBP, the agency quietly rescinded a policy known as the Processing of Pregnant and Postpartum Non-Citizens and Infants Memorandum. This policy had been in place since January 28, 2022, and it was created after years of documented failures in medical care inside immigration detention facilities. That earlier policy did not appear out of thin air. It followed a Department of Homeland Security Inspector General report that described care for pregnant and nursing women in CBP custody as horrendously inadequate. Women were detained without timely medical evaluations, infants lacked appropriate monitoring, and basic prenatal and postpartum care was inconsistent or missing altogether. The policy was meant to correct those failures by requiring tailored care for pregnancy, childbirth recovery, and infant needs. So when CBP labeled the policy obsolete or misaligned with current enforcement priorities and rescinded it, alarm bells went off. Senate Judiciary Committee staff later conducted site visits and reported that the same problems persisted. Pregnant women without adequate access to health care, mothers recovering from childbirth without proper support, and infants held in conditions that medical experts warn can be dangerous. If this kind of oversight matters to you, and if you want deeper explanations beyond the headlines, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep breaking these stories down in a way that actually makes sense. In the hearing, Senator Blumenthal asked what many viewers at home were likely thinking. Do you agree or disagree that babies and pregnant women in CBP and ICE custody should receive care tailored to their specific needs? And why would a policy designed to guarantee that care be rescinded? Secretary Noem responded by saying she would look into the specifics of the policy change while maintaining that everyone in custody receives appropriate medical care. She emphasized that accommodations are made for pregnancy and other medical conditions, and stated that individuals are even provided medical care before being returned to their home countries. But here's where the exchange became more confrontational. When pressed on how such a policy could be allowed to disappear, Noem suggested that she was not aware of any deficiencies in current practices and asked what concerns she should be addressing. Blumenthal pushed back hard, saying plainly that pregnant women and infants are not receiving adequate medical care, and that the rescinded policy was essential precisely because those failures were documented. This moment matters because it highlights a gap between official assurances and independent oversight. When an agency says everyone receives medical care, that sounds reassuring. If you are finding this breakdown useful and want more reporting that connects policy decisions to real human consequences, be sure to subscribe right now. What viewers should understand is that rescinding a policy like this is not just bureaucratic housekeeping. Policies determine staffing levels, medical protocols, response times, and accountability. Without explicit guidance tailored to pregnant women and infants, care defaults to general detention standards that were never designed for prenatal care, postpartum recovery, or newborn health. This is why lawmakers are concerned. Pregnancy is not a routine medical condition. Infants are not miniature adults. Without clear rules, oversight, and enforcement, vulnerable people fall through the cracks, especially in high-volume detention environments where speed and enforcement priorities often overshadow healthcare needs. The exchange
There
also
are individuals
underscores a
in
broader
FEMA that
issue
are
in
no longer
immigration
working with us.
enforcement,
They may have taken early
transparency.
retirement
The
or
policy
deferred
change was not
retirement.
widely
They have-
reported, debated publicly, or clearly
our
explained.
constituents
It came
in
to light
Missouri
only because a senator
or
asked direct
Connecticut, which suffered
questions
floods
in a
recently. I
confirmation
saw
hearing. We
FEMA
will
in
keep
action
tracking
then, as
this
I've seen
issue
them
and
over the
breaking
years,
it
that are
down so you
dedicated,
understand not just what was
vigorous
said in the
public
hearing,
servants. They
but what it means
appear
in real
and
life.
spend
If
hours
you
and
value
days
reporting
and
that goes
weeks
beyond sound bites
caring for
and helps
people.
you
You're
learn
losing
something
a
new,
fifth of them,
make sure you
including
subscribe to the
most of the
channel and
leadership.
stay
What's your
informed.
plan to replace